a demanding child, college choices, and our favorite story Bibles. Join us for this special Q&A edition of Family Vision. Rob Rienow here alongside my beautiful wife, Amy.
It's great to be here with you again.
2023 is underway, and we are back with another Q&A special edition of Family Vision. But before we jump into three great questions today, we wanted to invite those of you in the Dallas area to join us for the upcoming Visionary Family Conference at Wellspring Church. It is in North Richland Hills. The all-day event will be Sunday, January 29th. I'll be there with my boys, Ray and Rush, and you can get all the information for this conference on our webpage at visionaryfam.com. Then for those in Illinois, we've got a seminar for fathers coming up February 4th. We're going to talk about overcoming obstacles in spiritual leadership. It's going to be held at Wheaton Academy in West Chicago. It's a free event, but you do need to register. And the registration for that, again, is at our website, visionaryfam.com/WA, which is short for Wheaton Academy. Okay, our first question.
But
Are we ready?
Sort of, because you just mentioned that seminar, and I just want to give another plug for that. I think a lot of us as women, we always talk about wanting our husbands to be spiritual leaders in the home. And one of the reasons why I think it's difficult for men to be spiritual leaders in the home is that they didn't have any training, or it was never even thought of when they were growing up in their own homes. So I just want to give a plug for that seminar, because I've really seen the difference in our sons just growing up with a different mind. You've always kind of encouraged our sons to take those steps early in high school years, and it's made a big difference as they are approaching their families. I mean, they're new families with a whole different mindset than you ever had, right? When you first started getting married. So anyway, just thought I'd add that for you.
Yeah, I mean, as fathers, we say that our mission as a father or husband is our most important mission. But then if you ask, well, how much time do you take to get equipped and trained for this difficult mission? Most of us say, well, I don't do anything. And when I show up, I do my best. So yeah, this February 4 seminar, again, at Wheaton Academy, West Chicago, Illinois, February 4th. Those of you in Illinois would love to have you there. Okay, Question number 1. Mom in South Carolina. We have 4 children, ages 13 to 2. Our second child, our 10-year-old son, is out of control. He makes any situation chaotic. He takes all of our parenting energy. We feel like our other children are being neglected and paying the price for his behavior. What can we do to turn this around? Honey, where would you start for this one?
That is a hard situation that we have in some ways lived as a family ourselves, and also have walked very close with families who are in this situation. So I definitely relate to the trauma and the difficulty that is. And specifically as moms out there, I just want to address right off the bat that sometimes that's the case where one of the worst feelings you can have as a mom is when you feel like, boy, it's easier when this kid's not around. I mean, no mom wants to have that feeling. And it's hard to even say that out loud. But the reality is that that can be the situation a lot of moms find themselves in when they're dealing with a child that has significant behavioral problems, or a season that they're going through. So there's a lot to say here, and it's always hard to answer these questions. But let me give some pointers that help you to kind of process where how do you go forward with this situation. First and foremost, I often think that this sounds really kind of strange, but family worship is a surprising way to help start addressing these issues as a family.
Family prayer and family Bible time.
Family prayer and family Bible time, because it's kind of addressing the elephant in the room. I'm amazed often how when we gather on a regular basis for family worship, one of the things we often do is just talking about highs and lows. And we talk about what are the best parts of our day and what are the hard parts of the day. Well, that act alone gets people more on board with what's going on in other people's lives. It opens doors to different perspectives. so that you're taking just these few minutes to kind of understand just one layer deeper about what's going on in everyone's hearts. And you would be so shocked at the things that can come out in family worship. So I would just recommend, if it's not something that you're doing, that you start implementing a family worship time, even if it is just simply saying your highs and lows and then praying about that together. It doesn't have to go further than that, but start that process. Surprisingly, when you have a situation like that, where you have one child is really acting out, often everyone's dealing with the situation, but no one's directly dealing with it. No one's talking about the elephant in the room. So when you do family worship, it also gives your kids a chance to have private conversations with you. You can start to get a window into other kids talking about how that child's behavior is affecting them, or you're kind of allowing the conversation to be dealt with directly. And that always helps everyone feel more comfortable processing their feelings about all of this. Directly with your child who's having the behavior issues, I would always encourage you that there's, I would say 99% of the time, there's something going on under the behavior that we need to discover, that we need to learn about. And that is a matter of prayer and patience and conversations. But I would say that as a mom, one of the best things we can be doing is on our knees, praying for our kids and asking for the wonderful counselor to give us the counsel that we need in order to have a better understanding of what's going on in the hearts of our kids. And I would be even using that phrase with that child. I would say, will you please give me your heart? And what I mean by that is I want them to do their best to tell me what's going on inside of them. So, for example, when they're acting out, I would say things like, so what are some of the things going on inside of you when you're acting out this way? And one of the best things we can do as a parent is help our kids grow in self-insight and helping them understand their own feelings and motives and in understanding why they behave the way that they do. And I often think that we as parents assume that they know, but they most likely don't. And many times I've had conversations with my kids when the honest answer is, I don't know why I do this. And then I can just go into that and say, well, my job as your mom is to help you know, to help you understand. I believe you that you don't know. Now, obviously there could be all sorts of situations that may not be the case, but to understand that the behavior is just the smoke and you need to get to the fire of the situation. You need to get to what's underneath. And finally, I would add that we've really adopted this kind of phrase in our family, and we use it in family counseling a lot, is that kind of the Marine mentality of nobody gets left behind. And that I've seen help families so dramatically when they're dealing with this kind of situation, is that they kind of have to adopt a family solution as opposed to kind of continuing in the mindset that this is all just this child's fault and that they're the problem child. And if we just simply fix that, we're going to fix everything else. Because more often than not, when you do fix one child's problem, someone else is going to have a problem. It just sort of just goes that way. So when you start thinking in terms of, as a family, we're dealing with this problem right now, and we have to come up with solutions to that problem. And those solutions can be things like you might have to choose one-on-one time with your kids, or you might have to choose things where you plan another activity for the kid who's got a problem situation because you're going to be in a, like, let's say you're going to an event that you really don't want to deal with this behavior, but you want to do this with your 13-year-old. It's okay. It's right. Okay to have these types of boundaries. That's solutions to solving the problem. That doesn't mean you're leaving the child behind. It means that you're coming up with creative ways to work together as a family to make sure everyone has all the kids' issues addressed, not just the one. I hope that makes sense. I mean, this is complicated. I'm trying to do this over YouTube, but there are lots of nuances to these things. But I hope that gives you like some starting places to deal with this type of situation.
Yeah, I love that balance that you just described. It's no one left behind. In other words, we got to address this as a family, not fix the problem kid.
Right.
At the same time, she asked in this question, I feel like I'm neglecting my other kids. You are allowed to be intentional about spending time with the other children without this particular child who is really having a hard time with the behavior. And since you mentioned that it's a son and you used we, I'm going to assume that you are married. I would encourage you to find a way, just talk as husband and wife, come up with a game plan for dad to spend as much quantity time with with your son that's struggling. Just as much time, father-son, as possible. The key path toward healing is not less time with you all, it's more time with you as child and parents.
But let me add to that as well, is that you can, I often think of families with that have kids that have special needs. I have an aunt that one of my cousins has got Williams syndrome, and I learned a lot from watching her family. And part of it is understanding too, as a mom, that you don't need to feel guilty about taking breaks for yourself, and you don't need to feel guilty about having to arrange kind of your schedule or where you figure out something fun for this child to do so that you can have an extended time where you're taking care of yourself. I mean, you're in an exhausting situation and you need to acknowledge that, and this won't last forever. Let me just encourage you on that. You put steps in place and you will find that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So allow yourself some breaks for, personally, because it gets exhausting when you're with someone who's draining you a lot. You have to give yourself more breaks in that situation.
Yeah. All right, next question. Our oldest is a junior in high school. We're starting the college search process. We are considering both Christian and secular colleges. What are your thoughts on those two big options? Okay, well, our time is waning short, and so we have a giant question that we're going to try to answer briefly, and we'll go our third question after that. Okay. What are your first thoughts?
Wow. Well, my first thoughts are I look for three things I'm looking for schools. If you're going to go to the route of a secular school, I would say bigger is better. And what I mean by that is that when you go to a bigger college campus and you're going specifically like it's a state campus or, a larger school, the bigger it is, there's more chance that you're going to find other Christian community there because it's just a lot of people are going there. So, for example, I went to University of Illinois. There wasn't just one Christian fellowship. There were 6 different Christian fellowships I could choose from.
With dozens and hundreds of kids.
Yes. So, I mean, maybe not that many. I think those numbers have grown now because they have these campus ministries are incredible. And so my point is your child has a really good chance of finding other Christians that they will connect with. And yet, if you were going to a smaller school that wasn't Christian, then those numbers are lower. I think it's harder to find Christian community in that situation. So, again, if you're going to go to a secular school, think about bigger, because you're going to have not only more parachurch ministries, but you also will have more churches to choose from, which is another place for your kid to find other Christian community. But if you are going for a Christian college, we sent our kids to 3 Christian colleges, and we were, again, looking for a Christian college that had a good atmosphere of spiritual growth. Like that was something that was important in the community of that Christian college.
They
were
Christianity,
serious about it.
A Christian college that takes Christian seriously.
Correct. Because that really does need to be investigated now. Just because a college says that it's Christian, I would not assume that without really investigating that myself. And the other thing that I think is important is that kids feel free to be who they are, which that sounds strange that you would have to say that, because I think historically we would assume that a college or a university is the place where people could be most open in their thoughts and beliefs. But
diversity of ideas and all thoughts welcome.
Right.
All that
and
stuff.
The sad reality is that is not true anymore. And what's even more sad is that even on Christian campuses, kids who have more conservative Christian beliefs often find themselves not able to express those beliefs in a way where they're feeling the freedom to do so. So I just told my kids, I want you to feel whatever realm that you're in, like in your politics or in your opinions and you're growing. Like, I want you to be in a place where you feel like you can grow and express those things without being condemned for your beliefs. I want you to be in an atmosphere where you can talk about these things openly.
Yeah, going off what you said before, scout out what those Christian ministries are on the campus. That should be part of your investigation process, making sure that there's strong Bible-centered Christian community there, and scout out local churches before you go. One of the requirements I've had for our college kids, we've had 2 graduates and 2 in college right now, is that you need to be attending a local church while you're away at school. That's part of the strings attached with my money sending you away to college. I'm not going to send you off to school and have you starve yourself spiritually, even at Christian colleges where our kids have gone. It's chapel's not church. Your small group is not church. They're wonderful. They're great vitamin boosts. And one of the things that, as we have navigated this in our own family and helping other families with it, it's really helpful to have a sense of clarity spiritually about the environment you're sending them into. So you go to University of Illinois, you know exactly what you're going to get with the mindset toward Christianity. It's probably going to be hostile, as far as the teaching and worldview and all that. If you send your child to a distinctively Christian school, in other words, a Christian school that's serious about the Bible, serious about the historic Christian faith, you also know what you're getting there. This is a little bit controversial, but for us personally, the environment that we would be least enthusiastic about sending our child is to a liberalized Christian college, or a formerly Christian college, or a college that says we are Christian and we have some sort of Christian wrapping, but really they teach liberalism inside. That's a horrendously confusing place for a Christian student to be. But B, it's also, I don't want to spend my money there. I don't want to invest in the mission there. It's tricky. A little tricky.
It gets tricky because I also feel that about secular schools too. I mean,
that's fair.
Because that's something that we've really struggled with. We're like, do we really want to spend money at this institution? And the reality, we also have to there's many kids these days who are choosing not to go to college. And I think that's a totally viable option. I think every time you're talking about this next stage for your kids, don't take that one off the table, because there are a lot of kids who are finding, they don't want to go into debt. I mean, there are so many factors that go into this question, but don't assume that it's the natural next thing for your kids to do after high school. You should really go because you have a purpose and intention for why you want to go and come up. We've chosen a plan that's the least amount of debt. We've chosen schools that have looked at our kids and say, we believe you can add something to us. That was really important to me. I went to a lot of college orientations where the mindset is like, you'd be just so blessed if you would, come to our institution because only the select few get to be part of this school. And I'm like, I want nothing to do with that mindset. Zero, zip, nada. I want a school that looks at my kid and says, we think you can add something here. We are going to pursue you because I want my kids to know from the beginning that they're going to be a productive part of this community, and they're going to get something and they're going to give something. It's not about prestige. I don't go for that. But anyway, so there are and again, a lot of different points going into this decision. So pray about it and investigate very clearly wherever you're sending your kid to school.
And I've got a theory. Try it out on you, see what you think. This question of why do so many formerly Christian colleges cease to be Christian? And we can go to the big ones, the Yale, the Harvards, the Princetons, all founded as distinctively Christian institutions, and now the total opposite. One of my theories is that in Christian higher education, if you are a professor at a college, one of the things that you have to do is you have to write. You have to write articles, and you have to write books, and you have to generate new ideas, this new thesis. And if you're in biology and you're working on a new antibiotic or something like that, that's great. But if you're in Christian education, if you're in theology, the last thing you should be doing is coming up with new stuff, new interpretations of Jesus, new interpretations of the book of Genesis. Christian education, and it sounds terrible to say it like this, Christian education is teaching very old things over and over and over again and applying them to the new world. Now, that's not very sexy. That's not very fun. That's not going to sell a lot of books. But that's what Christian education is all about. All right, we've got another question, our last question, a fun one. What are your favorite story Bibles? How do you use them during family worship with children of different ages? You want to start?
Of course.
And we're going to do show and tell.
Are we doing show and tell?
Yeah.
Okay. Child Story Bible by Catherine Voss. Absolute favorite story Bible, hands down for me. Now, I often use some picture Bibles, like I think you also bought Dave Helms. I love this one too. Actually, his sister-in-law is a good friend of mine. But the Big Picture Story Bible, I love this one too. I love the Beginner's Bible to give my kids when they're beginning reading. I like them to use the Beginner's Bible. But this one is the one that we read over and over, and basically it's been the plan in our home forever, just to like, you read it to the end and then start it again. But I just want to read a little sample because I get excited about this book. I just think it's wonderful. But this is how chapter 2 begins. It's called How the World Began. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and created means made out of nothing. When a man builds a house, he must first have wood, nails, glass, and many other things. If he does not have something out of which to make it, he cannot build a house. But God made the world out of nothing at all. God made the world in a most wonderful way. When God began to make the world, he did not have to work hard and long, as a man has to work when he makes a house. All God had to do was simply to speak, and the world began. So this is very well written, and it's applicable to literally 3-year-olds will listen, and yet adults will also get a lot out of this. So that's why this is my number one favorite.
There's been a lot of times when we've been reading the story Bible, and she'll talk about something that happened in the event, and I'll be like, well, I don't think that was actually in there. Like in the Bible, it was, she's adding perhaps this little thing. And so I go over to check the Bible, I'm like, that was in there. And I didn't even know it was in there. There's one other new one that is new for our family that we are enjoying, particularly the youngest one. It's called Bible in Stories. Bible in Stories. And the website is BibleInStories.com. It's a 3-volume set. And each one of the biblical accounts just covers the 2 sides of the page here. And one of the artwork in here is incredible. And my favorite part of Bible in Stories, in addition to just like the Child Story Bible, it very carefully follows the actual biblical history. It gives you 3 or 4 really simple questions at the end of each one of those readings, which are really well done. They ask clear questions about the content of the history that you're reading, but also some excellent application questions. So we encourage you to mix and match reading story Bibles like these with the Bible. We think it's a mistake actually to just read story Bibles because these actually aren't the inspired Word of God. They're not living and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. They're wonderful commentaries for children and families. So mix and match. Read your Bible and read your story Bibles to help supplement.
Right.
Well, we know that these are big questions. We're doing brief replies here, but we hope that these conversations are helpful for you. And we love it that you are a part of the Family Vision community. We always love to hear from you, how Family Vision is impacting you, questions, comments, prayer needs that you might have. You can reach us by email at podcast@visionaryfam.com, podcast@visionaryfam.com. And we're already looking forward to our next time with you on Family Vision. It means so much to us to have you be a part of the Family Vision community. If this episode was meaningful for you, would you share it with a friend, with a family member? You can actually partner with us to bring hope and help to families around the world.
We are praying that Family Vision is a blessing to you and your family. So thank you for joining us here.
And we look forward to our next time together.